All right, we'll call this meeting of City of Perrysburg City Council for December 3rd to order. Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Here.
Mr. Matusek.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy. Here. Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mr. Van Huzen. Here. Mr. Weber.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Please join me if you can, if you're able, join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Minutes of the council meeting of November 19th.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the minutes of the Perrysburg City Council meeting held November 19, 2019, as written and dispense with the reading.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy. Yes. Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
We have no special reports, letters, communication, and citizens' concerns. If there are any citizens who have an issue that's not otherwise covered by the agenda, please come up and state your name and address for the record. Hearing none, we'll move to administrative reports. I have no report other than to, unfortunately again, thank the police and fire and all the first responders who were involved on Friday. The community should know the quality of service they received and the outstanding work they did regarding that tragic situation for the family. So I just commend them for their hard work and dedication. And I do have several reappointment and a new appointment to the several committees that I would like to recommend. Aaron Findings for Assistance Parks and Rec Advisory Committee and Jeffrey Poster for Historic Landmarks.
The Plan Review Committee met about 5-10 minutes ago. We discussed your recommendations and we recommended unanimously approving that the City Council that they approve your recommendations. So I move that we approve both of your recommendations for the reappointment and for the new appointment.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call.
We have a second.
Oh, thank you.
Roll call. Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Administrator?
The only thing I would like to mention this evening is we did have our audio group in to take a look at the microphone system and speaker system, so they did make some adjustments. They brought the speakers up to the loudest volume they thought they could without allowing for any feedback, so things should be amplified a bit, hopefully.
We'll pull after the meeting. All righty.
I'll help you out. The finance director has no report.
Law Director?
No report.
All right, Director. And the President of Council?
I have no report tonight.
Committee reports.
First up is finance, correct?
Yes.
I have no report. We have not met since our last meeting. Our next, our next scheduled committee.
Next Tuesday, I mean,
Next Tuesday at 5:30. Thank you.
Do you want to have a second meeting for that?
And I do that. Actually, I don't. So I would. We do have a second reading for the budget. So I would like to introduce ordinance 47, 2019, and move that the rules be suspended, allow for its reading by number and title only.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Ordinance number 47, 2019, making appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Perrysburg, Wood County, Ohio, for the fiscal year ending December 31, 2020, and declaring emergency.
Mr. President, I have some discussion.
Okay.
Under finance, or, sorry, under the general fund, under miscellaneous LED lighting upgrades, can I be told where's the extra lighting going to be placed?
That's your writing or is that?
It's upgrading.
Upgrades.
Very existing systems.
Those are dollars that exist in the service department's budget. So as we come across city-owned lighting, that we have the opportunity to switch out to LED lighting, we would make that modification to those existing lights. It's not adding additional lights, but rather modifying existing lighting.
Do you have an idea where they might be possibly?
At this point in time, we don't look to modify lighting or upgrade lighting until the existing lighting goes bad, whether it's a sodium vapor lighting, if it's incandescent. We look at those points in time to then switch out that system to an LED system. So it's only based on an as-needed basis. So there's no planned projects at this point in time. But if we have street lights that fail, or city parks that fail that are not LED, we'll switch them over at that point in time.
Thank you. And this question I have is for the mayor. You stated at the last council meeting that the city has wants and needs. You stated you consider a study for a splash pad to be a want and not a need, but yet apparently you feel that putting pictures on the wall of Riverside Park is a need. By coincidence, each of these two actions would require the same amount of money, which is $20,000. Please explain to me why the pictures are more important.
Well, I think that your premise of your assertion is wrong. A splash pad, building a splash pad, paying for the structure itself, obviously would cost $125,000. The cost of the water associated with putting them in that facility to run it on a regular basis and to have an ongoing water cost over time would be substantially more expensive than a particular item that we want to move forward with for the Riverside Park, which we haven't even initiated what the cost could be other than some estimates. So I think that the premise that some pictures cost X and a splash pad, which we know and we would have provided to council already showing that it's substantially more than several $100,000, is not the same item.
Well, I guess your research has been different than mine. I have not found anything that a splash pad would be that expensive.
All right, well, would you please provide information that a splash pad on an ongoing basis could be done for $25,000?
I said to begin with, you start with about 20, and I said 20,000, not 25,000.
Okay, we would put in the budget to do a study.
Right, and it never happened. That's
Well,
my
we did do some
understanding.
investigation, and we've got some information that we provide to council members, so.
But that's not a study, Mayor.
Well, I'd rather do an investigation that doesn't cost taxpayer dollars and reaches a conclusion that's based on facts than to pay for a study that we don't really necessarily need when we get the same information by spending out people with the knowledge and experience to save taxpayer money to make sure we get the same information. So you can disagree with that, and I appreciate that. But we haven't planned at the last either finance or rec committee you asked for information, and I think Jim asked for that as well. And we're in the process of getting that to all the council members. We will get that to you in the next week or so.
Before the next finance meeting.
Yes, but certainly for the next council meeting, so council can be fully apprised of the options and evaluate the choices of that.
And the next thing I have is, since you've already destroyed all the historic value in Riverside Park, I would be curious to see what you would put in the pictures, what those would be.
Well, I guess I'm not going to even answer the question because the park was basically designed before I was on council or before I was mayor, and I do not agree with the premise that we've destroyed the historic nature of that park. But having said that, we plan on working with a team of people with historic knowledge, like library, and making sure that those things are done in a professional way. And we talked to those people, but we don't have that completely moved forward yet. So we certainly would keep council apprised of all that.
We'd be bringing those to the Recreation Committee.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, what I anticipate doing first is forming a committee of people who are on historic landmarks or have been on historic landmarks, who have some appreciation for history in the community. And I know that Richard in the library has expressed some interest, and we would want to make sure it's in a way even attractive to tourists or people using the park, and also be a significant benefit to the community. So
I have a few others. On the heart monitors, the firefighters, and another issue, the chief stated he needs 2 additional ones now. Please explain why the placards on the wall at Riverside Park are more important than the heart monitors for the firefighters.
yeah, I'm not sure that that's not what let me just back up again. The premise of your assertion is incorrect, and what you're saying is that this is something that we're denying the fire department something they want. That is totally incorrect. The fire department has made a recommendation, and we are moving forward with that recommendation. My understanding is that you think that the money could be used for a different purpose. I totally understand that, but that is not the premise of your argument. Is that the chief is being denied something he's requested. I make very clear that that premise is false.
Mr. Mayor, right, I have right here in the safety committee report, Chief Ruiz said that he wanted 5 heart monitors, and there are 3 included in the 2020 budget.
If I may remind council, at the last council meeting, this topic also came up for discussion, and the chief's response to 5 heart monitors, after going back and talking with one of the captains who's in charge of equipment, medical equipment, he stated that those monitors would not be purchased till the end of 2020 because there was concern that the technology would be changing, so they would like to purchase 3 at the end of 2020 and budget for the other 2 in the 2021 budget and have them all be the same product that had the latest technology.
I would hope that after what just recently happened last weekend and the 2 weeks before, that we would be prepared for something like that.
Yeah.
The other things that I have on here are, again, the $120,000 for ADA. What specifically is that for?
As mentioned at the last council meeting, I believe this is also a topic of discussion and possibly at the last service committee meeting. I'm not quite sure on that. But this goes hand in hand with the dollars that were budgeted in 2019 to take a look at the accessibility issue. And this, I believe this one is for this particular building, might be $120,000.
I think that's part of our.
That's part of making sure that the municipal building complex, including the police division's building, is up to the ADA standards. So this, coupled with money in this current year's budget, is for design and construction of those improvements, as well as improvements to our security in the municipal building.
And as you will recall, the individuals from the building center were present here and made a pretty straightforward, not very hard to demonstrate that this building could use some improvements to its ADA access. And as this is where the city's business is done, we should be quite accessible to all our residents, including those that have some form of disability. So I believe that it's very important that we continue to make improvements to this building and to the compound here to make it ADA compliant, and we'll certainly be working with council to bring that forward.
But is it accurate to say, though, that the $120,000 for the downtown ADA accessibility improvements is separate and distinct from the money that's in the budget for this building?
I was just going to make that modification amendment. There was $100,000 in this budget under capital for the municipal building complex, including the police division for ADA modifications and security. And there is an additional $120,000 in the budget for the downtown accessibility issue. There's money in both budgets in 2019 for the design, which we're currently in the process of taking proposals for. And these would actually be construction dollars in 2020.
That's your question?
Somewhat. I also understand, doing some homework on this, that the Department of Justice will not listen to anonymous complaints and would have to be documented by the complainers. That's referring to the downtown. I do know that they are in the historic district, and they are also governed nationally as well as part of a historic district. Next question I have is the River MUP Phase 2A, 40,600. My question is, how do you plan to build a connecting road where the western portion is currently under the right-of-way? Are you trying to use eminent domain?
The multi-use path, Phase 2A, is actually the connector between Riverside Park and Hood Park. That is the portion that was not built because we knew that the boat club would be making modifications and building a building both on the north and south side of Water Street. So that is what Section 2A represents.
So you're not trying to use eminent domain back there?
No, that is city-owned property.
On both sides of Water Street, people own the property on both sides, so are you looking to do that?
This section is on the east side of Riverside Park to Hood Park, utilizing city right-of-way only.
On the Fort Meigs Grassy Creek current culvert repair, $75,000. What is this? I thought that recently that the culvert on Fort Meigs Road was already repaired.
That item will be removed during the amended budget process because that did take place and finished up, I think, about a week and a half ago, and the additional dollars were needed based on the methodology that was used by the construction firm. So that will be part of the amended budget process, or this body could make the motion to remove it at this point in time.
Along that same line, is there anything else in here that you're aware of that you already know will be removed in the amended budget process?
Under the 403 fund, I do not see anything at this point in time. That was the only item.
So,
No, no, sir.
I was gonna say on that note, there was a conversation regarding the Perrysburg Heights Community Center, the 20,000, and the administration was going to come back with a proposal. Would this be the appropriate time?
That has also, I think, already been modified by Mr. Krebs, that he has added the additional dollars.
Where did that come from on that? Because I don't think any of us have received an updated budget from that.
Right, I mean, that's the only change. is-
Okay.
I mean, so there's now 20,000. It's in the document that you have in front of you, because that's just, it's a summary document. It's not-
Okay, so it's just
But it is
coming out of a
reflected.
different fund.
So it just came out of the.
You just added, yeah, right, it came out of the balance. Just added 10,000 to the council.
Okay.
If I may, I have a few other things. On the Maumee River Western Reserve Road, what is the dip repair of $202,000?
As mentioned at the last council meeting, I think this was also a topic of discussion. This depression is on Maumee Western Reserve. When you come off the Maumee-Perrysburg Bridge, heading southbound and northbound, there is a depression in the road that we are currently exploring the options on how to correct that. There was a meeting last Tuesday, I believe, with staff and our consulting engineers on a couple options of injecting almost like a flowable foam in there that would not only stabilize the depression, but would actually decrease the amount of deflection that's in the pavement. And we're still underway with that particular project, but these funds would go to fund that in 2020. And our current estimates right now are somewhere in the neighborhood of $130,000, but we're making sure that that is costs all in. We would know that at the beginning of the year, and that item could possibly be reduced if the engineering and the construction costs are not at that level.
Okay, and then I have on here a fund for fiber optic conduit, $35,000. Where is that and what's that about?
Annually, you may recall that there is a set aside of $35,000 in this account, in this line item, so that the city has opportunity during a existing construction project, whether it's one of our projects or an outside contractor's project, that we have the option of running conduit in which to pull fiber optics through there. We do that. The last time we did that, we did it on the Maumee-Perrysburg Bridge crossing when that took place, as well as there's one that goes across State Route 25 at the Divergent Diamond. And our most recent one, I think, took place when we were doing some work possibly on Echo Junction and or Indiana Avenue. I'd have to go back and ask our city engineer when we were crossing the CSX tracks. And when we cross CSX tracks, we always ask permission to put in conduit, since it's very hard to go back to CSX during their construction projects and ask for those modifications at a later date. But it is simply a placeholder that would allow us to extend our fiber network as projects allow.
On riverfront improvements, I wasn't clear on that last time. 50,000, what specifically is it for?
As mentioned last week, there is no specific project in mind at this point in time, but these funds will be set aside for any of the park or city property that is owned along the waterfront from Davis Park, Orleans, Riverside, Hood, Maple Street Boat Launch, to make improvements, whether it be adding furniture, sunshades, information kiosks, and the like. But those would be items that, if over the threshold, would be obviously going through the Recreation Committee.
Okay. On service, okay, never mind. That's a different one. I think that's all my questions I have for now.
All right,
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, please let us know. And also, several times you said you would get us information and regarding.
I've given you lots of information, many times. I gave it to Ms. Cabot at one of the rec meetings.
Please let me finish that. So you've given us everything you have.
I can give you more if you like. So
That would be
I'd be happy to do that.
That'd be great.
And there are 4 that I've researched.
That'd be very helpful, thank you.
Nothing else from me? No one else has any questions or discussion on the budget?
All right, so yes, next time. That'd be up to you.
I think that's the plan.
Yeah, all right. Very good. Service committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Service Committee had a meeting on November the 26th. It was called to order at 6:11 p.m. Committee members present were myself, Mark Weber, Deborah Bourne was absent. Also present were Richard Cabot and Laura Alcott. Purchase of 2019 Volvo single axle plow dump truck for Department of Public Service. Ms. Cabot stated that one of the trucks used for brining is no longer operable, and we do not have another truck to move the equipment. There's a new dump truck proposed in the 2020 budget. Greg Topher, Deputy Service Director, found a truck that the dealer is going to hold until the beginning of the year. The truck can be purchased through the state contract for $179,586. Ms. Cabot said they are not requesting this resolution to be approved as an emergency because the truck would not be purchased until 2020. But it assures the vendor that we will be purchasing it. Mr. Weber asked if there were any other brands of trucks available. Mr. Topher stated that he looked within 250 miles of the Toledo area, and most dealers do not keep municipal type trucks on hand. He said that they did a demo with the truck and the drivers loved it. He said that normally there is a 6-month lead time to get a truck. I asked what had happened to the other truck, and Mr. Topher said that it is 20 years old, and when they put it on the lift, the exhaust fell off and the cap mounts had rusted through. Ms. Cabot added that this new truck will become a plow truck, and the oldest truck will become the brine truck. We need to 2-0 to recommend approval. And the meeting was adjourned at 6:20. And our next meeting is scheduled for December 24th, which there's a little bit of pushback regarding that, so I think that we may need to reschedule if needed. I do have a resolution regarding the dump truck. So I would like to introduce Resolution 76, 2019, and move that the rules be suspended to allow for its reading by number and title only, and to dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yeah.
Resolution number 76, 2019. A resolution authorizing a purchase agreement with Fremont Volvo Truck Sales and Service not to exceed $179,586 for the purchase of a 2019 Volvo single axle plow dump truck for the Perrysburg Department of Public Service.
I move that Resolution 76, 2019 be passed.
Second.
Discussion.
Ms. Cabot?
Yes, sir.
I think the comment was made in the report that that was the only truck we could find within 250 miles. Is the price of that truck roughly $180,000 in the ballpark? What do you think it would be?
Yes, the last several plow trucks that we purchased with the entire package have been in that 170, 175 range.
Okay, so
And the last one I think was 2 years ago.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Safety Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have no report, and as of right now, I have no meeting scheduled for December due to lack of agenda items this time.
Okay, so it's not because of the date, it's because of, no, there's no agenda items.
There is no agenda items yet.
The last council meeting is because of the date.
I think I shared my last safety.
All right.
Recreation Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our next meeting is going to be on December 10th at 6:30.
Planning and zoning?
Thank you, Your Honor. We met on November 20 at 5:30 p.m. That is myself, Jonathan Smith, and Becky Williams, along with Bridget Cabot, Laura Alkire, Bernie Walters, and Mark Easton. Jeff Foster has already been appointed to Landmark, so we don't need to review that again. We did talk about the history of the rezoning request for 2 city-owned parcels on Cove Court. Planning and Zoning Administrator Walter said that it's his recommendation was to zone both parcels park, which would allow for either a passive or active park, but would also alert future buyers of property in the area of the proposed highest use of the property. The Planning Commission had recommended 6-0 to rezone the park, so currently zones R3 to S1, and then leave the other parcel S1. I commented that it made more sense to me to zone it to park because it doesn't mean it will have to be an active park. It could be either active or passive. Mr. Smith stated that a walking path through the woods would be unique for the city, and there's not even enough room for soccer or baseball fields. His primary goal is to remove the R3 zoning. The committee agreed unanimously to recommend that the 2 city-owned parcels be rezoned to park, and that comes to you later as ordinances 48 and 49. We then went on to the topic of the historic district ordinance. We first went into executive session to discuss pending litigation. Following that, I noted that the city has had the historic district ordinance for decades, and it has not been updated. I would like to keep this item on the agenda as we enter the new year. Ms. Alkire distributed a sample of the historic preservation ordinance she pulled from the Ohio History Connection. She said she also found a grant funding opportunity through the Ohio History Connection, and applications are due February 1, 2020. If the grant was approved, the funds could be used for updating the guidelines or for education of commission members. She said she would, and she did email the link to the committee members. I commented that I'd be in favor of doing anything that can be done administratively and not hold that up. I think it's actually Brody Walters who said that there's in the past been discussion about sending a letter to property owners in the district reminding them of the guidelines. We talked briefly about a criminal versus civil enforcement code for planning and zoning. Ms. Alkire said that they are pursuing the criminal path right now, and she has not prepared any draft language on the civil enforcement option. Mr. Smith said he does not like the idea of criminally prosecuting someone for not painting their shed. Ms. Alkire pointed out that there are sections of the code that refer to any other remedy according to law, and she is leaning on that, and I think she said they probably will in the future suggest we use that to consider a civil remedy. Brody Walters reported that 2 RFPs or response to the RFPs were received for the land use plan update. The administration will be reviewing and determining the roadmap moving forward. And finally, Ms. Cabot said that the code allows developers to provide cash or escrow for infrastructure improvements. But the city has found recently that the escrow accounts provided some developers are actually a line of credit that the city cannot access. She just updated us that the administration has been discussing this internally, as there is a need to make some modifications to the code to make sure the city is held harmless on those improvements. We adjourned that night at 6:52. We meet again on Wednesday, December 11th at 5:30 p.m. And with that, I would like to introduce ordinances 48-2019 and 49-2019. The move for those to be suspended throughout the reading by number and title only and dispense with the second and third readings.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn.
No.
Mr. Matusek.
No.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
And Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance number 48, 2019, amending the zoning map of the city of Perrysburg, Wood County, Ohio to rezone 2.97 acres of real property identified as parcel number from R3 single family residential to P Park. And ordinance number 49, 2019, amending the zoning map of the city of Perrysburg, Wood County, Ohio to rezone 13.81 acres of real property identified under this parcel number from S1 scenic open space to P Park.
I will then move that ordinances 48 and 49-2019 be passed.
Discussion.
I have a few things. I don't see anywhere in the council packet any documentation to support or explain the planning commission's vote or their position. Was there ever a report issued or anything other than they voted 6-0 to keep it S1? Did they give any reason for their vote?
All their minutes.
I think the way Brody explained it to us was that the ultimate use might more likely end up as an S1 type passive use. But the purpose of the zoning at this point is really to some extent alert anyone who's buying property nearby of what could happen. So Brody, that was Brody's recommendation to rezone it to park so that they're, fully apprised that something could happen out there. And the other thing I recall Brody saying that Jonathan or Becky can supplement is that it wasn't like the planning commission had any great extended discussion about the issue. It was just, they had a better comfort level with S1.
One of the, if I may interject as well, one of the reasons that Mr. Walters had also suggested the park is that park and recreation facilities, entertainment, spectator sports facilities, anything like that, that would be a concern of a facility being built on a park would require special approval use anyways. And I believe that the intent of this is still to keep it more of a passive park, but to at least have the it listed as a potential park down the road. It's not something, again, that would happen tomorrow, but to have that ability down the road.
Well, and it was also stated, number one, the reason for it being brought up was Jonathan and committee is that one parcel is R3. And it's not consistent with what the use of their land. So changing that to either scenic or park. The other question I had was, what can you do on a park property? I wanted to make sure that if there was an opportunity for parking, obviously if you have a park, it's to go park in there. And if there's opportunity to have a shelter house or something more passive, it's not big enough to have soccer fields or baseball fields. It's not big enough for that. And that was definitely the message that came out of the committee is that we'd like to see the scenic area where the woods are to stay woods, because there isn't another park in the city that has that type of feature. But the consistency of having both parcels as a park, so that when those pieces of property are shown to people or told to possible residents, future residents, we've had issues in the past where possible residents were told that that was a piece of property that they could use for their own private area, and that it wasn't necessarily city-owned, and so we want to make sure that that message got out there that this is park area. It would not be developed as houses, as an industrial, or as anything else. So that's kind of where I think where we were coming from.
Well, it seemed to me if it was the interests, if we were concerned with the interests of people that will be looking at lots close to this, which I think is in the stuff that we got tonight. That was one of the concerns. If our concern is with them, and it's limiting any uncertainty that they might be confronted with what might happen with that, you can best limit that uncertainty by making an S1, not by making a P, because that tells them what could or could not happen with it, rather than instead of setting the bar up high and saying, here's all the things that could potentially happen with that if you buy this lot, saying, here's the only thing that can happen with that if you buy that lot. And at a later date, when those lots are all purchased or whenever, if for whatever reason those lot owners or those homeowners at that point want it to be a park, there's no reason it can't be rezoned P at that time. They might, we don't know if they don't want it to be S1 right now. Those future owners of those lots close to it.
We don't know who's going to even buy it, so I think that's all speculation.
It is. So if we want to reduce the amount of uncertainty that these people have when they're looking at a lot, we limit the use to S1. And if they want to make it P1, they can always come to council and say, we'd like to have this rezoned as
Well, if we're going to play hypotheticals, let's play a hypothetical. What happens if you have, let's just use an easy number, there's 10 parcels around it, and 6 of them want to be parked and 4 don't. We're going to be in the situation where we're going to have people fighting over it at that point. And we really want to create
that would be the case of absolutely everything that comes before us.
And so it would seem to make more sense to me at that point to put it down as a park. And if people want to see it change to the scenic, then it can be changed to scenic. It's not saying, again, that the city's going to go and build all these structures in there and turn it into a baseball diamond or a soccer field. You can't put a soccer field on there. You can't put a baseball diamond on there. It's still going to, for the most part, remain a relatively passive park, but you limit the ability if there's going to be a small shelter house, if that was to be the case. But either way, there's still going to be most likely a walk. This is just my vision. I can't speak to what it would be, but something small walk path and make sure that is a protected area for future development.
I guess my point is by limiting the zoning to S1, it doesn't preclude your vision from coming to fruition. It would just require another rezoning P. That's all. Once you zone a P, and there are people who like to be S1, particularly the people in proximity to the park, it isn't going to be because it's been zoned P. We've eliminated that option. Unless they came back and rezoned it to S1.
Again, I just see this more of a hypothetical of people that don't own the property on the conversation, and I just don't see the.
Well, I brought the numbers, that's what was brought before.
I understand.
Was, you know,
Yeah,
people that are buying property around here and they want to know what it's going to be.
I agree with you, Mr. Matuzak.
So, and since it's not an emergency, to go to move on this, since it's not an emergency and it's winter and it's just sitting there, I would say that, we've got some future council members sitting here in the audience. Whatever's going to be done with it, this gentleman's going to have a vote on that, so why not just hold off on the vote as to whether we rezone it or not until after the first of the year, because nothing's going to happen with it between now and the first of the year anyway. And that gives the new council members a chance to, vote on it.
I agree.
So.
Yeah, any other questions?
I think that's being a park. I just think that's one would be in the best interest of the people that are going to move in around it. And if they want to do more than that, then they can say so, and we can do that for them. And then the council members can vote on that as well. So. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That is fine. I don't want to cut you off. Sorry, are you down?
No, I'm finished. And if somebody would like to comment on that, I welcome the comments if they see where I'm misguided somewhere, or Jonathan already has. I'd love to hear from somebody.
I think all 3 members of the committee have addressed.
Well, I'm going to call roll call.
Okay, Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Ms. Ward,
No.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak.
No.
End of report.
Okay. Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The committee met on November 26th. We began our meeting at 5 p.m. with myself, Mr. McCarthy, and Mr. Andrews in attendance, along with Richard Cabot, Lori Alcar, and Kelly Chalfant, Human Resource Manager. First item on the agenda was to review the updated 5-year personnel plan. Ms. Chalfant, Ms. Cabot explained the 5-year personnel plan that was distributed to the committee. Ms. Chalfant stated that it was a fluid document, and Ms. Cabot said that conversations about recycling could affect the staffing departments of public service in the future. Mr. Anderson asked if there was any policy about giving notice before retirement, and Ms. Cabot responded that there was no requirement. The committee then asked for a recap of new employees that have been hired over the past 5 or so years to get an idea on the numbers that have been hired in within various divisions. Ms. Cabot and Ms. Chalfant stated that they would gather that information for the committee to review. The next item was review the proposed employee handbook. Ms. Alcar stated that the proposed employee handbook is broken into 4 sections, and the first section is workplace conduct. She reviewed the first section with the committee, highlighting substantive changes she's recommending to be made to the handbook. After asking a number of questions, the committee agreed with Ms. Alcar's suggestions and agreed 3-0 to recommend that the first section of the handbook be adopted. Ms. Alcar will then forward revisions to the second section to the committee. Finally, we reviewed proposed personnel policy code updates. Ms. Alcar stated that she would like to clean up housekeeping issues in the personnel policy before the end of the year. These items would include the nomenclature and classification of positions and updating policies for vision reimbursement and insurance so that they would match what is actually taking place. Then into the new year, she would propose making some wholesale changes. She stated that this is an opportunity to set the stage as the city goes into the collective bargaining. With there being no further business, we adjourned at 6:09. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, December 10th at 4:30 p.m., which is a change from the usual date and time. And with that,
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have a report, and as we were met late last night, it was hastily carried over the last couple of hours. So I'll have something out to everyone in its entirety tomorrow once I can go through and correct all my grammars, which I have errors which I've been doing since I've been here, realizing all the typos. So with that being said, the Public Utilities meeting was called to order yesterday, December 2nd at 6 p.m. By Chairman Jonathan Smith. Committee members present were Barry Van Hoosen and Mark Weber. Also present was Richie Cabot, City Administrator, Laura Alcar, Law Director, and Alice Ganassi, Director of Public Utilities, and Matt Choma, the Commissioner of Utilities. First item on the agenda was citizen concerns. Mrs. Cesaria of 2099 Lexington was present at the committee meeting to discuss the sanitary backup that had occurred in their home, resulting in roughly $4,000 in damages. The insurance carrier for the city had determined that the city was not liable. The committee discussed if the city could reimburse the Cesaria's damage and any unintended consequences with that. Mr. Smith suggested the maximum cap as reimbursement of deductible as this coverage can be had in home insurance. But at this time, the committee elected not to move forward with any reimbursements, and the city was looking a little bit further into those unintended consequences. Next item was the award roof bid for buildings B, H, L at the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Weber asked if the city had any interest in pursuing the alternative bid. Ms. Gassi indicated the city was not going to move forward with the alternative bid. The committee agreed 3-0 to recommend approval. We talked about the approval of the vehicle purchase to replace vehicle number 415. The committee further requested the administration to purchase a new vehicle. The previous vehicle that was being replaced only had 69,000 miles and was damaged due to a foreign substance being put into the line, which we have since found out was some bad diesel. That would have cost over $11,000 to repair. The committee discussed what had happened to the vehicle and went through all the quotes that had been received. The committee was in support of the purchase with the condition that the administration revisit with the other dealers and vehicle models to ensure that we are getting a true apples-to-apples comparison. This will not be on the agenda as the city is continuing to look into that. Next item on the agenda is to approve sewer design services to coordinate with the 2020 resurfacing project. The committee received a request from administration to approve changes to a sewer design in an area that is under development just north of Five Point Road and the Brocade Bend subdivision. The committee had a discussion and agreed 3-0 to recommend approval. Next item was to approve the 2019 update to the sanitary sewer cost recovery plan, also known as SICR. The committee heard from the administration regarding the SICR updates. This update is completed every few years. After some discussion, it was recommended to approve 3-0. The next item was to approve the sewer upsizing cost reimbursement agreement for Coventry Point. The committee received a request to approve the sewer upsizing reimbursement program to have the new development at Coventry Point increase the size of the sewer system to prepare for future surrounding development. It was agreed 3-0 to recommend approval. Next on the agenda was to approve the ACOM task order modification number 5 for additional modeling. The administration brought forward to the committee to the request that the city entered into an agreement to conduct a model of CSO forecasting for 5-year storms. This is part of several requests that the Ohio EPA has placed on the city. This is the first of several steps to look at the feasibility of the Ohio EPA request to reduce and or eliminate CSO events. The committee recommended 3-0 approval of the study. We then received the Fort Mink Ditch Soil Stabilization Study. The city had received this study on the Fort Mink Road ditch in the past week. The study identified 3 points of interest that needed to be corrected to avoid destabilizing Fort Mink Road. The next step is to take this study to the CT consultants to review and create recommendations how to restabilize the banks at these 3 locations. Next item on the agenda was the backflow prevention. Mr. Smith revisited the discussion regarding the backflow prevention devices in the city. Mr. Smith shared concerns of going overboard with RPZ devices, where businesses that an RPZ device may be overkill for their use. The administration indicated to the committee that they are revisiting these RPZ requests and what their next step will be. Mr. Smith asked for clarification as to what interaction council can have in these devices, as our rules, which are set forth by council, may allow it. However, the Ohio EPA has other standards in place that could supersede those rules. Mr. Weber had voiced that he visited several businesses where the RPZ device is cost prohibitive to install and the hardship option should be available. Mr. Weber also pointed to surrounding communities that do allow for double check valves and that we should further investigate this request. Mr. Van Hoosen had suggested that public utilities should coordinate with other divisions within the city to help with the monitoring of these devices. Another business, Mr. Smith went over at 1060.06 regarding the rules of the public utilities and suggested that some changes should be made. The administration had indicated that they are already looking into making many of these changes and will bring it back to the committee. The committee discussed the December meeting date, which happened to fall on December 25th. The committee decided to cancel the meeting, but would reschedule should an item need to be reconsidered. With no further business, the meeting was adjourned at 7:40 p.m. and technically our next scheduled meeting isn't going to be until January 22nd in 2020, at which time we'll probably be new committee members. With that being said, I do have a couple items to add here. And is there anything that anybody would like to have separate, or is it okay to try to combine as much as I can where possible?
Mr. Smith, can you please do them separately?
You want every single one separately? Yeah, sure, not a problem. All right, so the first item on the agenda is I would like to introduce ordinance 50, 2019, and move the rules be suspended to allow first reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Excuse me, roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Ordinance number 50, 2019, authorizing an update to the sanitary infrastructure cost recovery plan for the city of Perrysburg, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
All right, I move that ordinance 50, 2019 be passed as emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to introduce resolution 77, 2019, move the rules be suspended to allow first reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Okay, resolution number 77, 2019, authorizing an agreement with CRM Roofing for $83,491 for the replacement of roofs at the wastewater treatment plant buildings B, H, and L, and declaring an emergency.
All right, I move that resolution 77, 2019 be passed as emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Van Hoosen.
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Warren.
Yes.
Mr. Weber.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Sorry, we're having a discussion on this next item being an emergency or next to know that the packet had mentioned that it wasn't an emergency, is that, I don't recall if we changed that or not.
We did change it,
Okay.
and I said, I'll take that out.
So the revision was,
As it, yes, that's the only thing that changed.
That's what I thought. All right, thank you.
I'm looking at an old agenda, I apologize.
All right, I would like to introduce Resolution 78, 2019, and move the rules to suspend it to allow first reading by number and title only, dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution number 78, 2019, a resolution authorizing an agreement with DGL Consulting Engineers LLC for professional engineering services related to the 5 Point Road sanitary sewer extension at a cost not to exceed $48,864 and declaring an emergency.
All right, I move that Resolution 78, 2019 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Warren?
Yes.
All right, I would like to introduce Resolution 79, 2019, and move the rules be suspended to allow first reading by number and title only, dispense with the second and third readings.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Sorry.
Ms. Warren?
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak?
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Resolution number 79, 2019, a resolution authorizing an agreement with Coventry Glen LLC to construct oversized sanitary sewer infrastructure at the proposed Coventry Point and declaring an emergency.
All right, I move that Resolution 79, 2019 be passed as an emergency measure.
I have discussion. I just want to mention on this one, I will be voting no.
We need a second first and then I'll forward the discussion.
Second.
There you go.
Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On this resolution 79, 2019, I will be saying no. I do not think that the city taxpayers should be paying for something the developers should be doing.
So we have, if you'd like to look over our cost recovery plan, this is, oh yes, sure.
Hopefully I can just assist you with this. So the developer is only required to put in a certain size piping that will take care of the flow within this subdivision. And those are typically 8 to 10 inch sanitary sewer lines. But what we are asking this developer to do on behalf of the city is to increase the size of that infrastructure so that future expansion and growth to the south can be accommodated through that line. So instead of him putting in a smaller line, and perhaps us going back at a later date, increasing the size of the line, tearing up the roadway, we are asking him to build that infrastructure on our behalf at his cost, and then we will reimburse him for upsizing the pipe to our needs versus the actual needs of the subdivision. I'm not sure if that.
No, that was not how I read it in my information. The information I had is that this was being passed on to the taxpayers.
It is actually not, and if you reference Exhibit A of the agreement, under summary of cost, you'll see that the developer's cost to install the sewer to service the development that is proposed, his cost would be $181,000 or $181,285. That would be all he would have to pay for the necessary sewer infrastructure to go in to service per our cost recovery plan that was actually just passed unanimously by council. There would be an additional $895,363 worth of sewer. He would not be otherwise required to install. However, doing it all in one installation with the city paying the difference, what we would be responsible for, saves actually quite a bit of time and money. If future development happens out there, we are already prepared. We don't have to go in and tear up a new development to put in the larger infrastructure that would be necessary. So he is paying for what he is responsible for. We are reimbursing him for what we would be responsible for.
I'm going to hold my vote as a no still, and I don't think that the taxpayers should be beholden for something that we don't even know exists or doesn't exist. If it's even our land.
Just to be clear though, since we're reimbursing the developer for doing the work on our behalf, we're reimbursing him with taxpayer money, so the taxpayer.
With ratepayer.
Ratepayer money.
Ratepayer.
And the reason we're doing this is, at some point, we're gonna have to do that anyway, as it gets developed. And it's cheaper to do it now, and it saves you ratepayer money by doing it now versus doing it later.
That's a significant amount.
That is correct, and it's also in our codified ordinances that that's how these types of projects are to work. So at some point, and I don't have that ordinance in front of me, but council passed legislation dictating that this is the way this type of infrastructure is supposed to be built and reimbursed.
So if that's the case, why do we need to have a separate ordinance approving it if it's?
We have an ordinance approving the agreement with the developer.
It's just, it is a, what the developers just have to do is enough to handle the houses that going in, that what's going to be the future builds, and this is what is going to prepare for that future growth.
Roll call.
Okay, Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Warren,
No.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
I would like to introduce Resolution 80, 2019, and move that the rules be suspended to allow first reading by number and title only, and dispense with the second and third readings.
Roll call.
Second.
Just want me to stop talking here, don't you?
I know I'm not as fast as Becky, but.
Okay, Ms. Warren,
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen.
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Resolution number 80, 2019, authorizing an amendment to the agreement with AECom Technical Services to extend sanitary sewer and combined sewer flow analysis by authorizing change order number 5 in an amount not to exceed $29,800 and declaring an emergency.
All right, I move that Resolution 80, 2019 be passed as an emergency measure.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mr. Van Huzen,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak,
Yes.
Ms. Warren.
Yes.
All right, no further business, Chairman. Thank you very much for the time and the questions.
Thank you very much. Any other business to come before this council?
Move to adjourn.